What is up, NFC West football fans, and welcome into another edition of the NFC West Roundtable powered by BetUS. Week 11 is in the books. Only 2 games in the division this past weekend. The Cardinals were on a bye. The Rams take on the Patriots, and we had a massive showdown between the Hawks and the Niners. We recap it all tonight on the Week 11 recap episode of the NFC West Roundtable. Before we dive into it, let's bring in the fellas. Brandon, Jake, Mike, and Jesse. Boys, so good to see you. Brandon got the shades on. Jake got the shades on. Mike's taking it easy. He's coming off the bye. And Jesse, what do you got for me right there?
This, my friends, is a fork that I promised I'd bring to this week's show if we had lost because, well, Z-Bot, you can stick a fork in the 49ers. Their season is done, my friend. It's over.
Meanwhile, I see Brandon's got a custom Hawks spatula. I'm guessing you're starting to cook, Brandon?
I just, I knew Jesse was going to bring his fork, so I thought I needed to bring the equivalency on the other side for where my team was at, and I just happen to have this. I figured it was probably apropos.
Incredible. Can't wait to dive into that game. We will in just a minute. Before we do, let's see what the state of the West is right now over on BetUS. I already snuck a peek, fellas, and it has changed quite dramatically. Right now on BetUS, the Arizona Cardinals, Mike, you didn't even play this past week, and you didn't need to propel yourself to the top of the betting market when it comes to who is supposed to win the division. On BetUS, the Cardinals minus 120. The rest, all long shots at this point. The Niners plus 300. The Rams plus 500. The Seahawks go from in the plus 1,000s all the way to plus 600. This division every week, I know I say it, but man, it just seems to get better and better and better. You can see it in front of you right now on BetUS, just how tight it truly is. If you want to get in on it before it gets even tighter, use the promo code YouTube150 on BetUS. That'll get you 150% sign-up bonus, up to $2,000 on your first deposit, and 125% bonus on your next 2 after that. All right, fellas, we got to start with what was the game of the weekend for this division, of course. Now, granted, it wasn't a hard choice. There was only 2 games, but the Hawks putting it on the line against the Niners. Both these 2 teams battling, the Hawks trying to get back in the thick of things, the Niners trying to stay towards the top. Once again, just like, we've come accustomed to seeing from these San Francisco 49ers throughout the year, had the lead late, thought they were going to take it. Geno Smith has his pick in the game. Jesse was ready to come in here and say Jesse was going to come in here and say, Geno hands us the game. He walks in the end zone to take the game. The Seahawks win it. They improved to 5-5 with a 20-17 victory. The Niners fall to 5-5 with the loss. Crazy game, crazy ending. I have to start with the victor in this game. Brandon, I'll go to you. Talk to me about your thoughts in this one. It wasn't until about the 3-minute mark in the third quarter that your Hawks were even able to get into the end zone. They still find a way to end up winning this game. Talk to me about the emotions and overall how you feel about the outcome.
Well, emotions are flowing. We've got 6 straight losses here to this 49er team. A lot of those they've lapped us, and we've had not much of a chance of holding in there strong in this game in their house. Throughout this game was just in itself kind of like, hey, okay, we're in it. We've got a chance here. The defense has been steadily improving over the past couple of weeks, and it begins with stopping the run. And that's what we've not done against the Niners, I think, in probably all 6 of those matchups. Now, Niners came in with some kind of late injury news on this down the track that made obviously a big deal. And I know Jesse's going to reference it, and it's validly so. It's the same way I referencing when they came and beat the doors off us in our own house, where I'm going, yeah, we're missing a lot of our defenders. We're 3 games in 11 days. It's not an excuse. It's an explanation partly for what's going on. And when you're down Kittle, and then when you've got Bosa go out of the game into the third quarter, it certainly greased the wheels a bit for us to be able to pull this off. But the defensive effort, the addition of Ernest Jones, Jake, thank you. Oh, very, very much appreciate it for you giving us that. You Rams are givers, I tell you. And so he's been tremendous. He was tremendous in this game. The players showed just a hell of a lot of fight. Abraham Lucas was a first-round like talent that you got in the third round a couple of years ago in the way he played. The knee injuries knocked him out. You got him back into the fold in this game, and he was playing very much like that player he was when he was healthy. Came down to the stretch, Did Geno play a perfect game? No. Do I know that the people that are anti-Geno folks going to do nothing but get obsessed under that interception and locked in only on that? As I said with all of this, it's about a couple of other things outside of that, in my opinion, rather than doing that. It is about how did he play on the day as a whole, number one. It is also, again, number two, back to that supporting cast part. If you look at the bottom line stats coming out of this game, Geno was a top 5 pressured guy, quarterback in the sport for this week. You also had any kind of running game at all? Were you able to run at all? Was there anything to lean? The good part you had on this side of this game was that defense holding the line, giving Geno a shot to come back in this with the rest of the group. But a hell of a win. You salvaged your season. You have every chance now to get hot and try to make some noise. I'm not saying that I'm suddenly shifting off and saying, hey, it's Super Bowl or bust, baby. But it's a great feeling, and it feels good to get the monkey off our back, known as the San Francisco 49ers.
I mean, you said it. Getting back into the mix, it's not just that. Right now, everybody's in the mix. You have the Cardinals at 6-4, but you have 3 teams at 5-5. The Rams, Seahawks, Niners, all 5-5. And Jesse, that's why this game was so big for your Niners, because as Brandon alluded to, this is a team that your Niners have pretty much gotten a W against every chance that they've had. And if they got that W, they're right up there with the Cardinals in an ever tightening division. Except they lose this game here. They got a Dolphins team coming up that has been playing probably their best football of the season since Tua's come off the injury. Then it's the Bills on Sunday Night Football. So as you're watching this unfold, was it just, here we go again, or is it deeper than that? Is it worse than that? Your thoughts on what you saw on Sunday?
Well, we actually have the Packers coming up. We play the Dolphins in a few weeks, but yeah, I mean, it's not any easier, right? We got to go to Green Bay, and then we got Buffalo, and it's a tough schedule. This was supposed to be, this 3-game stretch, ending it with Seattle, was supposed to be the 3 wins, right? When you look at teams that are playoff teams, Super Bowl teams, you should be able to chalk in wins like this. And the 49ers were unable to do that. What I will say, though, is watching Seattle for the first time defensively that I've seen them this year fully put it together, it's like, this is exactly why I've been higher on them than most people the last couple of years. Where has this been at? The talent is clearly there. And, you know, Brandon and I did a midweek show, the Behind Enemy Lines, and I said, Brandon, I've been pounding the table for this Seahawks, especially defensively, the talent. But until they show me, I can no longer do that. Well, as soon as I say that, they reel me right back in. Devon Witherspoon was exactly what I thought he was. He's every bit as good as I expected him to be. He was a one-man wrecking crew. I thought that watching it live, but when I went back and watched the tape, it was even more special than that. He had himself a hell of a game. That's a great player over there. And McDonald did some really good things schematically in that game. Yes, the 49ers were without Kittle. We didn't know that until basically game day or in the middle of the night going into game day. I have a feeling the 49ers probably had a feeling earlier, but as a public, we didn't know. And so I did a show prior. I don't usually do pre-games, but I did a pre-game because of the Kittle injury news. And I said, guys, I know that we typically own Seattle, but this is now a 50-50 game, in my opinion. You take Kittle out, things get really, really close. You look at Abe Lucas coming back. You look at 3 really good defensive players that the Seahawks did not have when we played them last. They're all going to be playing this week. Do not expect that we're just going to walk through the Seattle Seahawks. This one will be different. And I'm still picking the 49ers, but don't be surprised if this one's tight. And it was. Unfortunately for the 49ers, they can no longer win these close games. In fact, Shanahan is the first coach since 2000 to have 3 losses in division when leading by 4 or more points in the fourth quarter. And that's the bad news. The good news is he can break the record because he has 2 more division games. So, Kyle, we believe in you, man. Go ahead and do it a couple more times, bud, because that is the story of your career. 49er fans are frustrated with Kyle, frustrated with this roster. All of a sudden, everybody's realizing, like, oh, my gosh, they're overpaid and aging. This is crazy. And it's like, man, I've been saying this since March, but here we are. San Francisco 49ers now with a big uphill battle. Can they make the playoffs? Yes. Do I expect them to? No. And right now, in order just to get in, this is the situation at hand, just to get in, assuming that Arizona is the final boss and they can continue to do what they need to do to be the team to beat. If the 49ers beat them week 18 and they have the same record, even that will not matter for the division unless unless Arizona somehow loses 2 of the other 3 division games and the 49ers also can win against the Rams. All of that has to happen just for the 49ers to have a chance in week 18. And even then, it's like, man, I don't know how you can have faith in this team. This team, the only reason people believe in the 49ers right now is because of what they've seen in the past. But what this year's team has shown you, they have 0 quality wins. They have a bunch of really bad losses. They're injured. They do look old and overpaid. Kyle Shanahan looks over his skis at times. This year's version of the 49ers should not give anybody any hope that they can all of a sudden turn it around, because that's not what they've shown.
I suppose it's amazing what TD does to me. I think I had the Dolphins on the brain because he was the one that said he was going to end the Niners season. But Jesse, what I'm looking at is this upcoming schedule, and you just alluded to it, not just mentioning those games against the Rams and the Cardinals, but I don't know if I truly realize just how tough it is for a 5-5 team in the San Francisco 49ers to do what they have to do to get in contention at the end here. Packers, Bills, when the worst game on your schedule is the Bears, who at any given Sunday can be right there with you. Then you got the Rams, Dolphins, Lions, and the Cardinals. So is it more to you, the opponents that you're facing, that has you discouraged about this team's ability, or is it more just the Niners' ability themselves to be able to win games like this? Because it's so hard to switch our mindset from thinking that the Niners in any one of these games wouldn't be considered either better or at least at the same tier.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, when you look at what the 49ers have done this year, you know, we all do this as fans. We look at the season as a whole, and we're like, all right, win, loss, win, loss. There's no scheduled wins on the 49ers schedule for the rest of the year. And picking the 49ers over anybody the Chicago Bears, you look at it and say, okay, well, yeah, they should win that game. That's a bad team. But the 49ers are a bad team right now. And the Chicago Bears are 2 fluke losses, a Hail Mary and a blocked field goal away from having a better record than the 49ers. So is that really a scheduled win? I know they're a dumpster fire over there. They're going to fire their coaches this offseason. They got players walking off mid-play. But I can't guarantee we're going to beat that team, man. It's absolutely crazy. So, yeah, the schedule is extremely tough. And, I do find this interesting, though. In a strange twist, TD has been running his mouth about how he was going to end our run.
Yes.
In a strange twist, though, I think the 49ers run is already over, and it will be his Dolphins fighting and scratching and clawing to get into the playoffs. And they will need that win against the 49ers. And when the 49ers win that game and ruin their playoff chances, it'll be me with the last laugh. So I can't wait for that, TD.
TD brought it on himself by calling out weeks in advance. You don't call the shot weeks in advance. You're just tempting fate at that point.
He's brought it up so much, I had convinced myself they were playing the Dolphins this upcoming weekend. I swear to God.
I thought it was next week. So you're saying it's like 3 weeks from now?
It's in week 17.
Yeah, it's a waffle.
Wait, so it's in 2025?
Literally. That's killing me right now. I thought maybe I was off by a week or two. No. I'm off by a full calendar month here.
No, we come back to you in 2030 on the schedule, man. We're going to be ready at that point. Tua, fully over the head stuff. Good to go.
Oh, well, if that's the case, you got a fan in me, Jesse. Jake, I got to turn it to you here because I was with you in the same boat, and that was when Jesse was saying, you know what, maybe we should be sellers at the trade deadline. I was nodding my head when you were saying, I'm not buying this for a second. This is classic San Francisco. They let you believe that they're down, and then as soon as you buy into that, they're back up again. After what you saw on Sunday, after what you've seen through 10 weeks here or 10 games rather, where they're 5-5 through that stretch, has your opinion changed at all? Or are you still saying, man, I think the Niners still have something here?
No, my opinion hasn't changed. They still have a ton of talent. I think if they, I think this week's game against the Packers is so big because I'm going to say it. I think Kyle Shanahan is a very good play caller, but I don't think he is a culture builder. And Jesse alluded to this. Deebo Samuel is on a podcast, bad look because you can't even play. And he's on a podcast talking about how they're, we got this or whatever. And he said stuff about they got lucky, when it came to the Eagles. And it's just the way he talks, it's a sounding, and I know I sound like I'm just going after Deebo, but it's other guys as well. It's like this this cocky nature. But as Jesse has said multiple times, you didn't win anything. It doesn't, no one is like, oh yeah, congratulations on the NFC title. Like, no one cares. Like, that's the sad reality. If you get to the Super Bowl, no one cares that you got there. You have to win. And Kyle Shanahan has not created a good culture. And I mean, that's really what it is. Like, you have guys fighting on the sideline, the whole thing with Debo. I know I keep going back to him, but he's just all over the place. The whole thing with, you got players feuding with reporters that, maybe Jesse and I know. But it's just, this is the type of stuff that you wouldn't see in a Sean McVay locker room. You just wouldn't. I said this before. When they have a distraction, it gets removed. Mike Silver had Jared Goff talking all this stuff about just everything that was going on after he was benched. Silver drops the report. Guess what? Silver's nowhere to be found around the Rams. He's gone. He is nowhere near the Rams. Goff was traded. Cam Akers complains, makes it about him, wants to be the starter, doesn't understand why Kyron's getting the carries. Gone. Deshaun Jackson, yeah, I need to be a top receiver on this team. Like, I need more, touches. Gone, right? Trey White, you wanted more playing time. Gone. So there's a lot of distractions on the 49ers, though. It's a lot of personalities on that team. And the reason I bring that up, it's not to dunk on them. It's that I truly believe they have the talent where if they beat the Packers, they're going to be a problem. They're going to build off that. They're going to beat the Bears. They can beat the Rams. I have no doubt in my mind they can beat the Rams because that game, they're going to show up whether they're bad or not. But I just think if they lose to the Packers, I don't see this team digging deep. I just don't. I don't think that's their culture. I think we have it. That's the way it is. We're the best team. We know we're the best, but you lose that. Like, when you lost Ayuk, I started to wonder. I was like, man, this really is starting to feel kind of like a Super Bowl hangover. But I've watched the 49ers come back from this type of thing before. So in good faith to people watching, I just can't sit here and say, yeah, they're done. Like, I still, Z-Bot, to answer your question, I still just can't write them off. But I will say this game against the Packers, if it's a close loss, okay. But if you're going to find out, I think you'll know. Like, if they come out and they look just awful and it's just not close, they've mailed in the season. Like, truthfully. And that's the locker room culture. So they can prove me wrong in that sense, even if they do that. But I will say, if the 49ers look dreadful against the Packers, their season's done. If they come out and it's a hard-fought game and they're in it and they win, or they lose and it's a close game, I can't rule them out. But that would be the only way I could rule them out for the year, is if I saw them come out against the Packers and look just awful, uninspiring football, mistakes, carelessness. That would be enough for me to be on Jesse's side saying, stick a fork in them. But I would need to see that, because again, I've seen this team come back from 3-5 and go to the playoffs and go to the NFC title game to be that. So they've come back from things worse. So we'll see what ends up happening.
Jesse, you had a point real quick before I get to Mike?
Well, I was going to say, I mean, that the culture that you're talking about is very real. Diamador Lenore, again, has done this all season long. And I love Demo, man. I've been his biggest fan when he got drafted. I'm an Oregon Duck guy, so I've been watching Demo forever. I just celebrated him getting paid. I loved it. The contract was very favorable. I loved everything about it. But when you lose and then you go, and by the way, K9 stiff-armed him through the turf at one point, and you come out and call him a conehead, and next time we play, it's getting like, dude, you're not playing them again this year. Get your head out of your ass. Get ready for the Packers. But they've created this culture and they've talked so much ish. They talked ish after the Packers game last year. You don't think the Packers are ready to bury their season? You don't think Detroit, when they come to town, are ready to... What Detroit did to Dallas, if they have any chance to embarrass the 49ers and score with their offensive linemen, they're going to try to do all of it, bro. They're going to try to do all of it. And I don't see it. I mean, you've got, I don't care how close the Green Bay game is. If you lose to Green Bay, then you're going to go to Buffalo the next week coming off a bye. Get out of here, man. No, the season's done.
And you did say Lenore after the Rams game, they got lucky or whatever. So yeah, this is like an occurrence where he just, I guess, says stuff after games. And again, to your point, and it's not necessarily being soft, like, these guys can't talk smack. Like, I'm understanding of that. But when you're losing, it's like when you have that mentality, that bleeds into your play. It just does. And everyone else kind of picks up on it. And I'm sure there are some guys in the 49ers locker room that are like, what the hell is this? But I'm sure there are other guys that are totally like delusional and they think everything's fine. And it's just like, well, we're going to get them. It's like, yeah. So we'll see.
My thing is be consistent. And for me, when the 49ers were winning, I was calling this out. Years prior, I've been saying, I don't like this culture. And it's a direct reflection of what's allowed in the locker room. And that goes back to Kyle Shanahan. You allow these things to happen. You either are preventing it or allowing it. And he's allowing it. And it's all great when you're winning. But as soon as you start losing and it continues, it starts to turn. Now people are looking at it sideways going, do we have a culture issue? It's like, no, they've always been this way. Yeah. Now it's an issue, but I've been saying it for years and people hated it when I said it then. It's like, oh God, you just buzz. It's like, no, this is not. Maybe
Jesse knows what he's talking about.
Not winning football.
You were saying before, or like before Zbot, I think, was hosting, and I think Dan was still here, and you were saying they need to sell. They need to move on. They need to have a rebuild because this is not going to end up well. This doesn't age well. And people keep talking about how they have $50 million in cap space rolled over. And it's like, okay, well, now you have to pay Brock Purdy, but now you paid Demo and you paid Brandon Ayuk and you paid Debo and all these guys. And it's like, eventually, like, as I've learned, like, you can't pay everybody. So it's not looking good. I'm sorry for you, Jesse, but I'm not sorry in general because I don't like the 49ers.
Hey, all good things must come to an end. And when teams that are good for as long as the 49ers have been, usually it doesn't end pretty. And I think we're seeing that right now.
Yep.
I find it ironic. All of the critiques that you guys are talking about right now with the 49ers are the exact critiques everybody has had about the Miami Dolphins. And we know Mike McDaniel is I
was told they're going to win the Super Bowl. So I think sounds like they're good.
They're winning this year, last I checked.
Real quick, because I know I want to hear from Mike on this too, but real quick of this, just with what you're saying, Jesse, there are to me echoes of sort of the LOB with this, is this being a bit of a nature, to your point on the C-Bot too, of just being kind of just what you get with the sport a bit, as far as if you go through these kind of runs. Also understanding that I think with these coaches like Carroll was before, there's a big part of the players coach aspect of this, where they let them run wild and free like we had with our locker room with the LOB days, where it's personalities and it's people running, kind of almost unhinged at times, but you're getting sometimes the good of that in this just reckless abandon level of play that they go about. But then there's always that double-edged side of that sword that can cut you on the other side of it over time, especially as the egos start to grow and people start to think their stuff doesn't stink.
Hey, I got to say this. Enough of us three losers. Mike, I told you going into the bye week, you would go into the bye week in first place. You'd come out of the bye week in first place. How does it feel, man? How does it feel to be atop of the NFC West?
I'm not. Yeah. I mean, I had no doubt. I picked you guys to lose. I mean, so, the upset was the Seahawks winning. And that's just because, okay, let me dive into this game here real quick. I'm going to say this, and I know Jake's trying to be really nice because mathematically you guys are still in. By the time these 3-4 weeks go by, or even these 2 weeks, cooked. The 49ers are cooked. That the culture, it almost kind of feels like you guys expect to win because of what you said earlier, right? Like, you guys been here, right? You're the top dogs. Yep. You were the top dogs. And it almost doesn't seem like there's that extra fight, that eye of the tiger that you guys are missing. Honestly, what I'm seeing with this organization, I don't know. And I'm not going to come out here and take away this win from, obviously Gino and Brandon. Good win, honestly. The 49ers had multiple opportunities this whole freaking year to get themselves to not be at 500 in this situation. And they floundered the opportunity. They gave hope to them. They gave hope to them. And it's one of those things where culturally, you got to be able to overcome it. And you can't. You just got too many strong personalities in there. Everybody's running rampant in there, and everybody thinks that they're all hot shit. Like, that's what it is. What it's going on right now is the 49ers, If they play tough against the Green Bay Packers, good job. Kudos. Moral victory. That's not what you guys are aiming for. You guys are aiming for the freaking Super Bowl. You guys don't care about the damn division. You guys are aiming for the Super Bowl. That's not going to happen this year, right? The Lions seem to be like that freaking team. So when I say you're cooked, doesn't mean you're not going to go 500. That doesn't mean you're not going to go 7 wins, 8 wins. It's just your expectations of what this season was going to be is nowhere near. Now, the Seattle Seahawks, congratulations. Honestly, you clawed your way back into the division. Everybody's 5-5 under the Arizona Cardinals at 6-4. I'm super excited about it. I think this gives a little bit more teeth to the game, and I know we'll talk about that a little later on, but honestly, shame on your 49ers, man. Honestly, it's good for me as a Cardinal fan because I would rather you guys be in this situation. It's just, I mentioned this in the beginning of the season, the downfall. I love every second of it. The downfall of the San Francisco 49ers. I've been waiting to see it. I love this seeing it. And hey, you guys are 5-5. Couldn't take care of the opportunities. And hey, it is what it is. I still do feel like you guys, your team, not you, Jesse, my bad. Your team feels like you guys deserve this. And there's just no fight. There's no that dog fight that you guys need to win a freaking game in the NFL. It's hard. It's hard to win a game in the NFL. You lost to us by 1 point. You allow the Rams to slip. And then 3 points or 4 points to the Seattle Seahawks. These are the type of games. These are the type of teams that either make it to the playoffs, win the division or not. And it doesn't seem like, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it's carrying over from last year. So it is
Literally,
what it is.
Literally every week since the Rams week, the 49ers have done this. And some teams have taken advantage of it and some have not. But they let the Rams back in. They let the Patriots back in. They let the Cardinals back in. They let the Seahawks back in. Then they let the Cowboys back in. They came back, let the Seahawks back in. They let Tampa back in. Every single game they've had a lead since the Rams, and they've let all those teams have a chance. Like I said,
the
Dallas
Rams broke them.
Yeah, maybe Dallas couldn't make the comeback complete. Seattle couldn't the first time, and neither could the Patriots. But the other teams have taken advantage of it, including Seattle the second time. So the 49ers only have themselves to blame. They've had the leads, but that's the other thing. We talk about tough guys and front running and all. That is the culture. They front ran for 3 years, and now they're coming back to the pack with the rest of the NFL, and they've got to play these tight games, and they don't know how to win them. They don't know how to win close games because they're used to being the bully and blowing teams out. And when teams are punching back and they're not afraid of the big bad 49ers, they don't know how to handle it, and that much is clear.
Mike, you're in a unique spot right now where you're watching this from the top. So what is that element like right now? It could get a lot more interesting. It surely will get a lot more interesting because you play the Seahawks twice in the next 3 weeks. But as it stands right now, what's it like kind of watching this unfold from the top for a change, similar to where Jesse's kind of been for some time now?
It's a weird feeling. I'm not going to lie to you. As a Cardinal fan, it's a freaking weird feeling to be in this situation. We all, as Cardinal fans, know that this path or this destiny is in the hands of the Arizona Cardinals in this situation right now. And here's the thing. I don't think there's any bad blood against, the Cardinals when you maybe ask the Rams or the Seahawks. They probably want to see the step head, little red child, to make the division. But it's a weird situation to be here. It was a really good time to sit back and just watch stress-free Sunday football. I was going back and forth between their game and obviously the Bills and the Chiefs game because that's when, the two games that were really, really good to watch in that weekend to kind of go back and forth. And obviously I ended up catching a good amount of the 49ers and Hawks game, but it's a good feeling. It's a good feeling, but it's not over yet. Like the job is long from over. What the 49ers have done is provided more life to the Seattle Seahawks because they could have been dead in the water. They literally could have. Now, mathematically, not really, but now everybody's 5-5. We're all puffing our chest out. The next game, Cardinals versus Seahawks, means a little bit more because technically it's actually the division that's coming into play. So I'm excited for it. The job's long from over. I think this Cardinals organization right now has the right mentality, and they're thinking exactly like I am. 1 week at a time, and let's take care of business.
Well, with every Niners loss comes about 75 super chats from my man Dave and the rest of you lovely people. We'll get to the couple of those right now, including John, who's coming in and saying, every dog has its day. Go, Brando. Is that how you feel, Brandon? Does it feel like that was a dog who had a day, or is this a dog that's going to have a month or two coming up here?
Everybody's still a bad guy. That's all I got to say tonight. Yes. We tell you, it's got a day. That is my day.
He had his day, and he's looking to have another day against Mike's Cardinals upcoming this week. I cannot wait for that one, too. Like you just said, Mike, that got a hell of a lot more interesting than previously thought. Feed me more. He's coming in. He's saying, nice W, Z-Bot. Thank you. Thank you. I enjoyed every single second of it, as I hope all
So did America.
Million, I know. More viewers in the opening ceremony to finally watch those guys go down, for the love of God. And he's also saying, Jesse, sitting Drake May was smart.
Huh? Sitting Drake May. Oh, did we talk about Drake May on the show? And I
don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Sitting Drake.
I mean, I loved Drake May, but I actually thought he should have played from week 1 on. Like, I mean,
well, feed me more.
I have no idea.
I'm sure he'll clarify.
I know I made the argument for him to sit, so I've been on the other end of it, but I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Then maybe
I don't
that's
remember
what
ever
it's
talking
response
about
to?
Drake May.
I don't
Honestly,
either.
I don't remember.
I'm sure he'll let us know. We'll keep an eye out. Feed me more. Airborne saying, NFC West Roundtable, my favorite podcast. High praise from Airborne. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
By the
Let's
way,
go.
we are on we are on Spotify now, so we are a true podcast now, fellas. We're not just a YouTube.
Aha.
So if you're looking to get the full podcast experience, we're over on Spotify. Feed me more coming in again. The reason the 49ers defense is not good, no defensive coordinator. Thoughts on that, Jesse? Kind of a because the defense right now, I feel like might be getting a bit more of a pass than the offense just because of how loaded up that Niners offense is.
The reason the 49ers defense isn't good is because they run an antiquated wide 9 that they won't get away from because Kyle Shanahan won't let him. So Kyle can bring in every coach he wants, but if he wants them to run this crappy system where they don't blitz and they have gaps all over the defense, this is what they're going to get when they don't have superior talent. So blame Kyle on that one.
Zombie Brains, he's coming in. He's saying, I'm going to say it. Cardinals have the best tight end in the league. I'll tell you what, Trey McBride is.
All right, calm down. Chill out a little bit, huh?
Yeah. I
don't
like
know,
him a
that
lot.
Sauce Gardner
but-
catch and run, Jesse, last week where he spun out of Sauce's tackle, then he hurdles the guy on the next step afterwards. I mean, I
He's hurdled like three
wasn't
different
big on the guy
people.
coming out, but I got to respect him, man. He's balling.
He's good. He is good, but the best. Come on, man.
No,
No,
he's very
it's-
good, but I'll tell you who I would take over any tight end right now. And I am a huge George Kittle fan. I said he was the number 1 tight end the year he came out.
Taysom Hill.
But no, I would take Brock Bowers.
Oh, yeah.
Brock Bowers is the best tight end already in the league.
Nah.
Like
I know he's not the
from a
blocker,
receiving
he's not the
standpoint.
blocker.
No,
Kittle's
I agree
having
with you,
like a
Brandon.
career year. I mean, he's right there with one of his bestest seasons, and he is there may be 2 tight ends in the sport that block as well as he does.
I mean, like Brock Bowers isn't like the blocker that I think he's going to be down the stretch. Like I think right now he's the best receiving tight end, and
Yeah,
it's
that's
not remotely close right now. I think like watching him, he doesn't have Brock Purdy, he doesn't have a Geno Smith, he doesn't have a Matthew Stafford, he doesn't have a Kyler Murray. Like this, you have to understand. Like they've been in and out with quarterbacks. They've had Gardner Minshew. They've had Aiden O'Connell. I mean, now what's his face is there. Ritter's out there, so he doesn't have a lot of talent there. Plus, they moved Devontae Adams. So it's like, he's not really playing off anybody. He's just the guy. I've watched him. He's getting double teamed. He comes down with it anyway. He's absolutely insane. And it's why so many teams tried to trade up, around the teens, especially the Rams. I can absolutely say that. Teens in the 20s tried to trade up and get Brock Bowers because I was surprised he made it to where he did. Like to fall out of the top 10 was insane to me.
Yeah, he's such a hybrid. He doesn't even feel like a tight end at some time. Yeah, at some point, just the way he moves.
Well,
down.
he's like your guy.
He's open.
He's like Kincaid. Like that same type of
Kincaid's not
style.
yeah, but that's the thing. The numbers. I mean, that's the thing. He's putting up the
Yeah.
numbers instantly. And I've always wondered why they don't go to him enough in Buffalo. But when you have a situation where it feels like he's the exclusive target, I mean, he's really seemingly cashing in on every chance that he gets.
Yeah.
That's massive. We have Keon coming in. He's saying, told you last week. Ayuk, Debo, Purdy, CMC, done. Niners are turkeys. Thanks for remembering your Gino in the clutch. Baby.
That's very uniformed there.
I love it. All right, now we got a nice run coming in here from Dave. A nice 6 super chat run here. Starting with one of the best. $20 lot lizards could do better than Lyle lately. He feels like you could just walk out into the lots over at San Francisco Stadium and you could find someone right now who could be putting up a better fight than Dave's best friend, Lyle, who he also says should be fired for Steve Wilkes. Or no, fire Steve Wilkes, rather. Oh, no, he meant Lyle. As if to say nothing has changed between Lyle and Steve Wilkes. Dave's also saying Lyle going to Lyle all the way to 7-10. Dave's got 2 more wins coming for the Niners. That's it, down the stretch.
My God, man.
You know the Super Bowl strategy: lose to every team in your division. Says Dave. It's foolproof. He's also saying that's just Lyle's strategy: lose to everyone, not just in the division, but lose to everyone.
Oh,
Ruiz,
my goodness.
he's coming in. He goes, "You're welcome for EJ. Thanks for Murphy over Darth Vader."
Hey, yeah, it's worked out for both ends on that one. But yeah, EJ, boy, he's been a hell of a player, man. Ernest Jones for us. The difference between him and what we have in the middle linebacker position. I mean, it's night and day difference from what the last guys were, and it's something that when you go to the inside linebackers, tackle numbers, PFF scores, TFLs. These are things that we try to use them, kind of hold as a metric for those kind of guys. But there's something to be said for just watching the film and seeing a guy ruggedly run around there, take on blocks, get off blocks, fill the right lane, show the instincts, just things that aren't necessarily stat trackable.
I love the way you said that.
By the way, prepare yourself for this one. Ram DeLorean, gangbang Lyle choked again. I don't even know where we're coming up with half these things anymore. But
it's because
the San Francisco
Bang Bang Niner Gang, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a thing? Oh, okay. I like when I like the lore that I'm not aware of being outside of this division. So there we go. Bang bang. Gang, whatever. It's all the same.
I know it makes no sense, Z-Bot. It makes no sense as you try to say. What you tried to you were trying to make sense of it as you said it for the first time. You went bang, and it felt kind of dirty, and not went. Wait, no.
Yeah.
No.
The one like that to me,
where did it come from?
It's always been tighten up for me. That never made any sense. Like I get it, tighten up, tighten, I guess, but what does that mean? Why do you want to be tight? You don't want to play tight?
No, that feels like a fan base.
There's a lot of ones that are really dumb. Like, do your job, Patriots, really? Like, that's just like, we have a thing. Like, do your job. Like, congrats. Or who day or who dat.
Well, there's 2 of those. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, who dat, who day.
Who this, who this.
And you just have Bill's Mafia, which just works.
We're just not. We just run with that. Yeah, we just do whatever we want, apparently. But
that sounds badass. That at least sounds badass.
Those
ones are kind of quasi a little
exactly. Weird. I love that one.
That's a good word to use.
Yeah, I'm biased on that one. I do love the skull chant, though. I got to give the Vikings credit.
That's good.
That's good. I'm a fan of that. This is interesting. I like this. So Dave is saying he's already locked in on the Niners being 7-10. But maybe with the sarcasm aside, I'm not even sure if Dave's being sarcastic at this point. But Jesse, when we do look at that schedule, which is brutal, where do you see the way? Like right now, say someone gives you $500 free bucks on BetUS, you got to place down that money on the games in which you find the Niners to win coming up here. Outside of maybe the Bears, where are you putting that money over the last month and a half here?
I don't see more. I think best case scenario, 9 wins. I think you look at the next 4 games. So you've got the Packers, you've got the Bills coming off of a bye, and that starts at 3 games in 11 days. Then you play the Bears and you play the Rams. I think if you go 2-2 there, then you finish the season with the Lions, Miami in Miami, and the Cardinals. Best case scenario, let's say you beat Miami and Arizona. That's 2 more wins. That's 9 wins. And even then, that's best case scenario. At that point, I mean, if I'm trying to hand losses to the Cardinals, they still probably get to 10. So, I don't know how we win the division.
Yep.
But beside the division, though, do you think that gets you into the postseason?
No, because they beating the Packers, they own the tiebreaker. But because they lost to Seattle, and this is why this loss was so huge, is it ruined all the tiebreakers, because in order to sneak into the playoffs, beating the Packers this week is great, but you're still one full loss or one loss ahead of the Green Bay Packers. So you need help from them to come back while you're trying to catch up to them. So all of the tiebreakers are basically not in the Niners' favor right now because of that loss to Seattle. It really screwed them.
Holiest Grenade is saying, take a look, Cardinals fans, at that beautiful custom spatula, Brandon, because that's what you're going to get served on when you play us next week.
I should bring mine. I got my own over here too.
I know. I got one downstairs too. I thought I was the only one.
team
I love it.
spatulas.
I'm just a sucker. I just buy everything with the Bills logo. I don't know how you guys wound up with it. I've never used it once. I haven't used it.
Because the steak tastes better when it's got this emblem on it. That's why.
Exactly.
Oh
Dave
God.
or Daza this time. Daza coming in. Him and Dave have the same purple D logo, so it's tough to separate the two. But this is Daza coming in saying Niners players haven't bought in all season. Talent is there, but effort isn't. Also, Kyle Shanahan refuses to play the best players. Mason, Cowing, Garendo. I'm interested from your perspective, real quick, Jesse. It's just with the with CMC coming off of the injury, it doesn't feel different. And I just felt like at the very least it would look and feel different. Is there a reason for that, in your opinion? And do you think Mason should be getting more carries ever since CMC's come back?
Oh yeah, Mason's the more explosive runner at this point. Say they should be looking at the way that the Lions run things, and CMC should be their Jahmyr Gibbs. He shouldn't get more than 10 carries in a game, and he should be the pass catcher. And then you have Mason, who should be your 15 to 18 carry guy, and that would be the most effective. But since CMC's come back, Mason's had 3 carries for a guy that averaged over 5 yards per carry up until that point in the season. And in those 3 carries, his average 6 yards per carry. Looked explosive in the only 2 touches he had this week. And I asked Brandon this on Wednesday, and I think he still believes this. If the 49ers told you we can only play 1 this week, based off of what you've seen from CMC, who has not really played all year and is coming off of Achilles tendonitis, or Mason, I think you would be more scared of Mason running the football. And the 49ers are doing teams favors right now by not playing him.
McCaffrey's not anywhere close to 100%. I thought your 70% mark you talked about last week was overstating it, but I don't know that it is. He does not look at the same level in that explosiveness.
Agree.
Dave thinks you're dead on, by the way. He agrees with you completely about that situation. You can't help but wonder if it wasn't for the name recognition, the money involved, if it would be a different circumstance there. I also feel like if the Niners were in a different situation in terms of how their season's gone, if CMC would be out there at all. So the whole thing's interesting. Dave's saying that he said to Jake, he's sick of the 9-paragraph answer. So what you're going to have to do, Jake, coming up here, hold on in a second. When we talk about Rams Patriots, I need you to give Dave a 10-paragraph answer when we talk about that game coming up. Dave, he wants a little bit more. Dave's also saying new movie analysis for the Niners. Tropic Thunder. Well, hey, I like
makes
that.
Kyle Les Grossman. The fat hands.
Never go full aisle. Says Dave. Dave's saying great cast, but no one focusing on the main goal. Well, I don't know. I mean, I know you got to feel different, Jesse, because you haven't won it. But God, from our perspective over here, and I'm sure all around the league, it just feels like the focus has been there. You're the team that's been the closest to it outside of Kansas City. It's so hard to see what's happening this year, especially when there isn't a whole lot of difference. I mean, to you, what is the biggest difference? Because it just doesn't feel like much has changed to go from that to whatever this is.
They just hung on a year too long. And you know, it's funny because a lot of people talk about Brock Purdy and the deal he's going to sign and how that's going to hamper the 49ers. And it's true. If he does sign a massive deal, eventually it will hamper them. But they're not going to be hampered because of Purdy's contract initially. They're going to be hampered because all of their good players, or a lot of their good players, are just going to be gone. They're going to age out of the league. CMC's 28 years old. I mean, as a running back, that's near the end. Deebo Samuel ages like a running back because he is a wide back. He plays a unique position. He doesn't separate as a receiver. He's not a great route runner. He doesn't have great hands. So he's aging like a running back. He's 29 years old. You've already got Kittle, who's north of 30 years old. I think he's 32 at this point. Very good player. He's still showing he can play at a high level, but he's more Gronk than Kelsey when it comes to just the physical beating he's taken throughout his career. And then Trent Williams as well. So you've got a lot of players on this team that are very, very good staples of this organization that are aging quickly, and they're expensive, and they're just living up to expectation, unfortunately.
Saigon wants to know what would Christopher Walken say about the Cards game next week, Brandon? What would Christopher Walken say?
I'd say Saigon, Arizona coming in here. They think they're the big dogs, but they're really a bird, and they need to learn that they're the tiny bird with a big bird. And we're going to win this week. Sorry, Mike. It's the way it's going to go, but it's okay. You'll still be in kind of first place, I guess, if you want to call it that. But you're just keeping the seat warm for us. Thank you.
It's a lot of confidence with Geno Smith over there.
I've earned this confidence. I've been watching them for a long time.
Speaking of earn, Alex is saying you earned the right to rush. Has been going around quite a bit this season. I think you earn the right to talk shit should be the Niners' new mantra.
I
don't know. Once again, it kills me. It feels like they've earned. I don't know. It's so hard. It's amazing what one possession of one game allows you to do and what it doesn't allow you to do, how it allows you to be perceived and how it doesn't. Because the Niners, once again, I mean, they've been the closest to anyone in terms of trying to get over the Chiefs. Jordan, it is fitting Geno dog walk the defense down the field when all the pressure was on him. I'll ask you, Jesse, when you're watching Geno, who we've all, we've been on here several times, and there's been tons of criticism of Geno, and I know one game doesn't change things, but is it a little more frustrating as you watch him trot into the end zone to win it with like 13 seconds left against your Niners?
Oh, yeah, no, definitely. It's frustrating. But also, I mean, listen, I'm not a Geno guy. That play or that drive is not going to change anything for me. Great. The 49ers didn't, by the way, I want to make this clear because I'm not an excuse maker. The 49ers didn't lose that game because Bosa went out. But my biggest thing with Geno has been his demeanor. Go watch his demeanor before Bosa was out and when Bosa went out. All of a sudden, he was a world beater when Bosa wasn't on the field. He was a completely different guy. But kudos to him. I mean, he has been written off a lot in his career. And the 49ers, that was personal for him. He talked about it before the game. He knows that that's a team that he needed to get over the hump against. And just as a person, I'm happy for him that he was able to do that, but it doesn't change my mind about who Geno Smith is.
Yep. Feed me more saying Jesse Odinson, Iron Mike, Jake Smash, Captain B. This feels like a crossword puzzle I'm trying to solve in real time. Anybody got anything for me?
Thor Odinson,
He's throwing nicknames out.
Mike Tyson, I guess, Iron Mike, unless he was going with Iron Man.
That one,
Jake Smash, he's talking about Hulk, I would assume. And
Okay.
Captain B could be Captain America, could be Captain Planet. I don't know what the hell.
All right.
Captain Planet. That's not something.
Captain NFC West.
Yeah, Captain NFC West.
Fire Poet. As a Rams fan, it's currently the Cards division to lose. Man, Mike, going into week 12, that's got to be music to your ears right now, coming off of a bye. Hearing that, I love it. Dave, Lyle brings in people, then says, run my defense.
To be fair, Sean McVay did that with Raheem Morris, and then everyone's like, Raheem Morris's scheme sucks. I'm like, they're telling him to run this.
Well, Freddie's coming in saying Rams coming for the Cards. Don't worry, we're going to talk about the Rams in just a minute.
Wow.
You people are incredibly generous, and we're making sure we get to everyone here before we talk about the Rams improvement to 5-5 over the Patriots this past weekend. Dave, once again, Niners clawing and scraping for last place. He's saying they're trying to go the opposite of where everyone else would like them to be crawling and scraping towards. Eric with a banger is coming in. Why is it every time the Hawks beat a team, the team suddenly sucks? Beat the Broncos week 1. Everyone crapped on them. Now people have them in the top 10. It's the same with the Niners. Give my boys some credit for quality wins. I mean, I think that's, the Niners.
Have you not been listening to me talk all season long? Like, don't come in here all of a sudden and be like, oh, yeah, no, Jesse's like a Chief. No, listen, I've been saying this since the Chiefs game, just so we're clear. Just at least that's been my stance as a Niner fan, as the resident Niners expert. I've been saying we suck since week 4. All right.
Aaron, you want reassurance? Go watch the episode before the trade deadline. I mean, that's the perfect example where Jesse was just ready to put the for sale sign up in San Francisco.
Absolutely.
Well, and then, I mean, last week, I want to make it clear, like I was saying, I don't think Seattle's out of this either. Like, right. And I've also defended Geno. So, I don't want to be clumped in with that. I didn't really talk too much about it because I was just kind of going in on the Niners culture. So was Jesse. So I feel like I was justified there. I felt that was a shift. The Seahawks came back from a bye week and they came out, and that defense, that was a shift. And I'm telling you right now, Mike, the shaking of the head, he sees it. He envisions it. Seattle's going to win this week. And you know what? God. I think there's a chance Seattle wins on the back half of that against the Arizona Cardinals.
The Kool-Aid.
2 weeks after that.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because that defense is starting to play like a McDonald defense. People kept saying, they're like, oh, fire McDonald. This doesn't look anything like the Ravens. Well, they're not the Ravens. It's a completely different team. Like, I don't know what you were expecting. Although I'll tell you, without him in Baltimore, look at them, right? So here's the deal. Okay, Seattle, whether you want to admit it or not, that was not just the 49ers. They stopped the Rams run. They stopped the Rams ground game. They held the Niners ground game. This was the worst case scenario for anybody trying to write off Seattle. And this is why I said I don't think anybody should be written off in this division. And I still don't feel like the Niners should yet, because like this is the NFL. As the season progresses, you learn a little bit more about yourself. And let's not sit here and act like, oh yeah, Abraham Lucas. Yeah, that was a huge return. Huge. Mm-hmm. I watched Mike Jarrell. He got his lunch eaten the whole Rams game. Okay. Not very good. But Abe Lucas being back, do not minimize that. Do not minimize how the job that the guy that they got from the Broncos, he had a huge game against the 49ers. Totally blanking on his name right now. But that's the thing. Yeah, I almost remembered it. I could not remember it. Ernest Jones playing the way he is. I'm not out in Seattle. I am not out because I can't just sit here and say 49ers always do this. Seattle does this. Seattle is the cockroach of this division. They don't die. If you drop a nuke, they will be alive and everyone else will be dead. They don't die. They don't have a dark age. They don't pick number 1 overall. They don't do that. Okay. They never have that. They haven't had that since they've been in the NFC West. They've been nonstop consistently in it. They're either the best team or they're right in the thick of it every year. They're not going anywhere. And I mean that as if I'm not giving up on this team. And I think that game, you win an emotional game on the road like that against a rival who's owned you. Well, Mike, you could shake your head, but you literally did that against the Rams, and that propelled you to what you are. That was a huge win. Because we did start the season off 1-3. That didn't technically propel us. It was a good win. It was a dominant win. That's you built off that. We're acting like slowly this win here. The San Francisco 49ers we've all beat the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I'm not going to take it away from Brandon here, but to say that they're going to come out here and beat the Cardinals is absolutely rubbish. Because you're going to Seattle. Huh? They're coming off a huge win, and you're going to Seattle.
Hardly a juggernaut, Mike. To win. You just know that you're going to come in and walk here. And I'm not saying we're a juggernaut. That's the last thing I'm saying. But to come out here and say, okay, but everybody's won against the San Francisco 49ers. Take a ticket.
So like Eric, that's all I got to say. You better be careful about how you talk about the star of the Sex in the City right now. I just want to say you better be careful. You're talking to a star right now. But choose your words carefully.
But it's like Jesse was saying earlier about the Niners when he said equality wins. I think that's a good term for him to use. And to Eric's donation that he just dropped a second ago talking about quality wins and us not getting any credit for that. Yeah, we did beat the Broncos. Oh, yeah, we also beat in first place Atlanta Falcons. Has the team been very inconsistent? And has this team at times not given me a lot of hope when it was bad? Certainly. But to, Jake's point about getting hot at the right time and things coming together, and a lot of those bad losses we had, you weren't running the flavor of Mike McDonald's defense. I noted it here time and time again. This looks like last year's defense. back to Jake's point, the past couple of weeks with the Rams and coming off the bye, you're starting to now see the spice sprinkled into the defense in the way that we expected. It's going to make them tougher to play, especially if they can stop the run like they have the past 2 weeks so consistently against two teams that want to run the football, that run the football at the forefront in many ways.
They could have beaten the Rams.
I mean, they don't got
game,
Kyler Murray playing like an MVP. That's all I gotta say. Well, we'll dive into this game. We're getting a little too spicy right now, Brandon. And this is what I love. I'm glad the 49ers gave you guys the win. I'm sorry, not gave you the win. I'm glad you guys won over the 49ers.
Yeah, you're getting a taste of what you're going to get on our Week 12 preview episode coming later in the week. And as you can tell, that is, in Mike's words, going to be spicy. Daza coming in. Niners just have to lock in, Jesse. That's all they got to do. They just got to lock in, and they'll run the gamut. Keon's coming in. Arizona versus Seattle is going to be a lot closer. Oh, he was ahead of the game with that one, Jake. You and him are aligned. You and Keon here. Going to be a lot closer than people think. Seattle 48, Arizona 3. All right. He was way ahead of you on that one.
I think it's going to come down to the wire, and I think Seattle's going to win almost the same way they beat the 49ers. I think it'll be Geno, and then Brandon is going to be insufferable on the show because if they win,
better pray. Pray.
Oh man, no, but no, I'm not saying this is like I'm rooting for it, although it is weird to rooting for the Seahawks back-to-back weeks because it does benefit the Rams, and it would make just total utter calamity if the 49ers won and the Seahawks won and the Rams beat the Eagles. We'd have 6-5 all across the board. I'm actually kind of rooting for that, low-key. I am. That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, let's go.
Mike, they're coming after you off of a bye, which is crazy. You didn't do anything, and here we go, right?
It's easy to do so when they forgot. There's been a whole week of no Cardinals football. It's easy to do so. So just let them talk. That's all I guess. Let them talk.
You're burying yourself in their heads right now, Mike. They're saying you've forgotten about the past, but the present right now is what we're talking about. Damn it, Mike.
Be here next week. That's all I got to say.
I love it. Cheaperton. 40 Winers are going to be 1-5 against the division. 1-5. That's Cheaperton. Rams, let's go. Ram versus mobile QBs makes me worried. Hurts, Allen, Kyler still left. We'll always let QBs scramble to infinity on third down until someone is open. All right, we're approaching an hour mark here. I got a ton of super chats, but we can't go any longer without talking about these Rams because they're at 5-5 right now, coming off of a victory over a mobile quarterback, over a New England Patriots team that's playing better than their record probably would indicate. It's not an easy out. Jake alluded to it last week. The Patriots are always going to give you a battle despite the fact that they're currently 3-8. You saw that this past weekend. Rams win 28-2. They needed a big rebound after what they put on display against the Miami Dolphins. They were able to do that, and now they're tied at the second place spot right now with 5-5, looking up at those 6-4 Cardinals, thoroughly in the mix. Jake, what did you see from the Rams in that game, especially the biggest difference between the week prior where it looked like nothing could work, and then this past week where you're able to get to 28, get out with a much-needed victory, and stay alive in the division?
Yeah, so I've gone through a whole whirlwind of emotions about that game because initially I was like, this game should have been 38-14, and, there was kind of just a bad call. I'm just going to say really soft on Jared Verse. They get the stop on third down, and at that point, they're about to just completely take over the game. But they get an automatic 15 yards from it because Jared Verse kind of had a guy, on his neck and he didn't like grab him or anything like that, but he just had like lightly put his hand on his neck, kind of like trying to take him out of the pile because there was a pile up, and it gave, the Patriots life. They had a 15-yard penalty. Then the next play, Byron Young, he gets his hand in the face mask and there's another 15 yards. And all of a sudden, you're like, wow, penalty yards just carried them right into the end zone just about. They had almost negative yards up until that point. But, I was really impressed with the way the Rams came back and they were able to get the touchdown they needed to at the end. Colby Parkinson, really good to see him going. And then the defense, they have been unbelievable. This is one of the best defenses in the NFL right now. I can't believe I'm saying that because they had a historically awful start in the run game. They were like record pace they were setting in the run game. And now they've held just about everybody under 100 yards that they've played since the bye. And they're third in EPA defense. So they're one of the best defenses right now in football. They're getting a lot of pressure But this is not why. So initially I was bummed that it was a close game because it should have been worse. But then I thought about it. This was really, really important because we saw a defense that's already like one of the best in the league right now. They're hot as hell. They're getting a ton of pressure. They're getting turnovers, which they didn't even do last year. And now you just saw 4 touchdowns from Matthew Stafford. And people are going to sit there and tell you, well, it's the Patriots. Like, who cares? No. This Patriots team put up 29 pressures the week prior against Chicago. I'm not saying Chicago's great, but that was telling. So I came into this and I watched their tape and I was like, they got some good stuff. I really like what they do. Mayo's going to come out with a plan and it's going to be hard. I felt like it was going to be hard, but guess what? You know what we found out in this game? We found out that Dolphins game, it wasn't a fluke. Like people will tell you it was a fluke. It wasn't. No, it was a direct negative consequence to choosing the wrong thing to do. What we found out is that the reason the Rams offense looked the way it did, Z-Bot, is because they had 3 new offensive linemen in on that 5. And they basically got rid of what was working. So Bo Limmer is kicking the crap out of guys up front, hasn't allowed a sack all year, and you bench him for a guy who's not a center. Jonah Jackson could be fine at left guard, but he's not a center. So he had 3 awful snaps, went back and watched that film, 3 awful snaps that killed drives that the Rams were driving the ball down the field in that game. But it was the untimely errors. So you had that. You had Joe Noteboom, who's predominantly a left tackle and a guard who doesn't play on the right side. And the way I would, say this is, somebody that's talked to a few, tackles in this league. Cause I was like, what is it like playing at the right side if you're a left tackle? You know what it's like? It's like being a left-handed batter and being forced to be a right-handed batter in the MLB. Okay. It's not simple. It's really not as simple as we make it as this interchangeable thing. And that's why these guys shouldn't be called tackles. They should be called left tackle, right tackle. Not everybody can play that. You have your switch hitters that exists, and you have guys that are interchangeable, but it's not as common as we kind of just assume. So Noteboom got the crap kicked out of him at right tackle. And then you had Jonah Jackson, who's snapping over Matthew Stafford's head and just isn't communicating on the stunts, not doing the little things. He's not a center, so this is what happens. Avila comes back, looks great at left guard, so a huge upgrade. I thought Justin Diedick played well the week prior, but the Rams were riding a 3-game winning streak trying to make it 4. And they lost that game to the Dolphins in a game that they, were pretty much in territory to score, 6 times. And so they kept stalling because of this bad offensive line play. They gave up a lot of unnecessary free runners at Stafford, and Stafford couldn't get anything going because of that. Well, now you move on to the Patriots game. The same team that had 29 pressures, all this team did, Warren McClendon Jr., who Brandon saw at the end of the Seahawks game because Havenstein went down, and he played very well at right tackle, looked very good at right tackle, right? Then you have Bo Limmer back at center. They did something that not a lot of teams in the league would have done. They benched an $18 million a year player in Jonah Jackson, who they just signed this offseason, because they knew they had made a mistake. This is why the Rams consistently, it seems like every year, as long as they don't, get completely drenched in injuries, they go through kind of a rough patch. We saw in the Super Bowl season, the November to remember, losing 3 straight. They make adjustments. They don't let their ego get too big. Sean McVay is not afraid to admit that he's wrong. And when he makes these adjustments, good things happen. So initially, I was annoyed by the close game against the Patriots. But when I went back and I rewatched it, I was like, wait a minute. This offensive line was insane. They only gave up 3 pressures, and they still don't have Rob Havenstein. Matthew Stafford and his 56 starts with the Rams, including the postseason, his 56 starts, he's had the projected starting offensive line 29 of those starts, okay? And this year, he hasn't had it once. So there's a chance this weekend, if Havenstein plays, the desired starting 5 would play for the first time all year and would protect Matthew Stafford. And coming off last week, that would be massive. And even if they don't have Havenstein, I thought the way Warren McClendon Jr. played, the former 5th rounder out of Georgia, was very awe-inspiring. So really what I have to say is this. Jesse, you were absolutely right. Bo Limmer is a freaking monster. Not only is he an elite athlete, 100th percentile, by the way, 100th percentile athlete at center, but he's incredibly intelligent. He's so smart. And it just happens so much on the fly. When you do have those moments, like I really liked Coleman Shelton last year, and people wanted him back, and I said he's the weak link. Because when you have just all that chaos, all that traffic, and you have to communicate on the fly and let people know, hey, okay, you have this guy coming over on a stunt. You have to communicate. You have to be able to do things on the fly. Jonah Jackson can't do that. Coleman Shelton couldn't do that last year. Bo Limmer does it all the time. It's why he hasn't given up a sack this year. He's been dominant. So what I'm saying is right now, they have to beat the Eagles. They have to. Although it is getting a little bit, so they really can only lose 2 more games. And the 49er game, I will admit, has gotten a little bit more winnable than I thought it was. But at the same time, they have to beat the Eagles. If they beat the Eagles, I'm telling you right now, if this offensive line stays healthy, they're a top 3 offense in the league the rest of the way. They did it last year. Matthew Stafford's getting hot. He's 4th in passing touchdowns right now over the last 5 games. The only people who are ahead of him, Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and Jared Goff. That's pretty good company. All 3 of them have been talked about in the MVP race. So we're seeing it again. Second half Stafford last year carried them. They got some good defense, but the second half Stafford last year really carried them. He was tied for 1st in passing touchdowns the last 7 games of last year with Brock Purdy. They won every game except for 1. And the 1 game they lost down the stretch was that Ravens game in OT. And I think if they beat the Eagles this weekend, they have a chance to do it again. You know what? I think they're going to beat the Eagles this weekend. I have this new, this kind of new look on this team, because when I went back and I watched it, it wasn't, the defense played their ass off against the Dolphins. So it wasn't like, oh no, the defense fell apart. Defense was great. Defense held them. But the offense, what I found is, going back to the tape, this was not a fluke. This was just a direct result of making a bad mistake. And the reason why coaches get fired is because they don't win football games. And a lot of the time they don't win football games because they don't want to make that big, decision. They don't want to have a shakeup. Sean McVay's not afraid. And because he put Bo Limmer back there and didn't care how much they're paying Jonah Jackson, I think this team is in really good shape. And still, I know everyone is talking about the Dolphins game, and rightfully so. It was in prime time, but this team has now won 4 of the last 5. They are hot, and they're coming off a game where they went across the country on the East Coast, jet lag and all, and they just dropped 4 touchdowns on a New England defense that, really I was concerned about going into this. So I feel really good about the Rams right now, and I do think that they are going to go on a run. I think they're going to go on a tear. And I think Seattle is going to be right there. And I think there's a chance, and I know this sounds kind of crazy, but I think there's a chance that Week 18 game is for the NFC West. Seattle Seahawks and the Rams. I think that's absolutely going to be the flex game. I really do. And, I think Arizona could be the flex game Week 17. But I have to say this. Arizona has to prove it to me. I've seen Seattle do this. I have. The thing that is the most detrimental to a team during the season is when you get a bye when you're hot. That's actually the issue, okay? Seattle needed that bye. The Rams needed the bye. I think it could actually hurt the Cardinals. It's why I think Seattle is going to win at least one of those 2 games, especially the one in Seattle. I think they might win them both. You'll beat the Jets, Mike. At that point, what does that put you at? So you'd be at 6-6, 7-6, lose to the Packers potentially, lose to the Vikings potentially, beat the Bears, lose to the Ravens. Like, they have passed the test of going up against a really tough schedule. But at the same time, we've seen them, and you like you mentioned, like they were 1-3 after the Rams game, but like also, they've gotten blown out too. So I don't know. I don't think this is cut and dry. It's 6-4, 5-5, 5-5, 5-5. And the 49ers aren't out of this thing either. I just think that there's a lot. This is going to be a very exciting division. And there's a chance Washington with the inexperienced quarterback, with a lot of tape now being on him. I really like him, but we're starting to see Washington's starting to fall off a little bit. So if they fall off, we could see 2 NFC West teams in the playoffs. I think that's absolutely possible.
There's no way. They played Dallas twice. First of all, they're coming off a mini bye. I already looked at this because trust me, I felt the same way. They've got a mini bye. They're coming off a mini bye. Then they have an actual bye week. They're getting who's the corner from the Saints that they just traded for. He still hasn't even played a snap. Lattimore. He's about to play. And they have Dallas twice on their schedule with the Saints. So, no, they're not losing. Trust me. All they need is 3 wins and they're in. 3 wins is it.
That's fair. But this point still stands. It's wide open. But that one dude in the comment section saying, stop talking. I'm sorry. I waited a freaking hour to talk about this game. So miss me with that.
Well, Dave wanted to fund you on it. He said he'd be broke, though, if he gave you a super chat for all of your points. But you just covered you covered a good basis there, and I think you're confident in your Rams as you've been proven to be right based on that idea in the past, right? Going forward, we know what the talent is. We know what the talent is possessed by the Rams right now currently. We know what they have. We'll see what it winds up translating into. There's a reason why that game is Sunday Night Football this upcoming weekend. That's going to be incredible. Eagles, Rams. And they got some real beauties on their schedule coming up, including the Bills in a couple of weeks. So a lot of fun games on the schedule for the Rams. And if they win a considerable amount of them, it's time to take them seriously, as you probably should right now. But they have opportunities to really prove themselves coming up. Tehran is coming in saying, y'all really lost to Bradford and Tomlinson. I'm seeing Brandon smiling up there.
Wait, Sam Bradford came back?
I know.
Yeah, he's talking about our guard. He's talking about our bad guard
No,
situation.
I know.
Yeah.
We got Long Live the King. Can anyone on the internet put Gino's head on a fancy hibachi chef, cooking a hot L, tossing it in the air, and Jesse catching it, eating with glee? Wow. Anyone out there got superb Photoshop skills?
We can do that on Gronk now, can't we, or something with the AI thing? I could probably
Oh my God. Was it Mid-Journey? They can make like that.
They imagine they nail Jesse's likeness to perfection. They somehow know like all of our likeness.
they probably could.
They probably do.
Yeah, I know it. Dave, he's saying some age like wine. Niners with Lyle, they age like milk. Eric is coming in. Gino isn't elite necessarily, but with 2 minutes left, drive to win the game. I'll take him. Tyler and DK over all teams except a few. Wow, that is a take. Brandon, quick thoughts on that?
He statistically has been one of the best players in 2-minute situations in the league over the last couple of years. He's got 10 fourth quarter game-winning drives over the last 2.5 years. He's got 2 other ones that he actually accomplished, but the field goal kicker couldn't make the kick. So say what you will about Gino on the stuff that certainly is maybe debatable in certain parts and other places about it, but as far as him being clutch and bringing teams back from behind when you have no more room for error, he's shown that quite a bit. There was a game against the Detroit Lions a couple of years ago, scoregami game, where we couldn't punt once, and he had to still go down in that game at the end and go get the win. So he's done it.
In this house, we root for scoregami. We just had one this past week.
I root against the Lions.
Oh, well, I think the Lions had a scoregami this past week, 52-6, I believe, was scoregami in that game. So
I got real quick. I got to give Jay credit on guy because he ate some crow on Gino. So I got to eat some crow on my side of this really quick. In regards to Braden Fisk, a guy that I've called a stunt merchant. And a guy that, look, he gets a lot out of what he does with that, but he has been, when you look at him statistically and what he's done in helping that defense out, along with, I know Versus having the flashy year, but he's having a year almost at the same place as Aaron Donald. Tackles, sacks, he's right in there, and he's not Aaron Donald. I'm not saying that's the upside of where he's going, but I've got to start to redirect my place on that guy.
I love watching Fisk, and I also you mentioned it. I got to give a shout out to Michael Hoyt. I mean, this is a guy from Brown that probably nobody knows, and he had the unfortunate thing of he came out of Brown during the COVID off season. So he was one of those UDFAs I think could have been drafted. He's a crazy athlete. Rams fans get on his athleticism for whatever reason, but they've been doing this cheetah package where they have 3 edge defenders on the field at the same time, him, Byron Young, and Jared Verse. And he's been outstanding in his role, and he's blocked 2 kicks this year. That was a huge thing. He blocked a kick in the Patriots game, which was huge. So He doesn't get any credit, but Michael Hoyt, remember the name? He wears 97 in LA. He's a stud. He's also a Super Bowl champion too. He was in the Super Bowl game, but he deserves some credit. But I like that you gave credit to Fisk because he's going to be playing on Sunday night against the Eagles, so people will get a chance to see him for sure this Sunday.
I just think
I'll be there.
And every time you say Fisk, that's all I can think about. I can think of nothing else but the Kingpin every time.
Well, I call him Kingpin.
I love that. I would too. I love it.
It's the greatest nickname ever.
Daza. He's wondering how many teams in the NFL would swap their current quarterback for Brock Purdy. He's thinking they'll screw up their future if they pay him $60 million. He's not elite. That's currently the problem in the NFL. You saw the Dolphins deal with it. You're seeing the Cowboys deal with it. It's either pony up the 60 mil or go back to the drawing board. I mean, that's just what the reality of the situation is. I'll let Jesse answer. I mean, what would you rather do at this point? It's a tough situation to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been pretty clear. I'm not paying Brock $60 million, but 49ers probably will because that's what they do. But yeah, I mean, as far as how many teams in the league would trade their quarterback for what you have to also consider what he's about to be owed and say what you want. We all know that he's better than Jimmy, way better than Jimmy, but that Jimmy was a real thing. Jimmy is literally unplayable in this league, but looked like a borderline top 10 quarterback in this system. So there is a Jimmy tax that you have to add on when evaluating Brock Purdy. And I think a lot of these GMs, whether we think Kyle's great or not, a lot of these GMs, coaches around the league, they look at Kyle, they think he's good. And they're probably looking at Purdy going, he's just another merchant of Kyle Shanahan. So probably not a lot of teams, to be real with you.
That's the best way I've heard that defined, the Jimmy tax. I got to start using that from now on because that's kind of how it feels. It feels like there is some residual from Garoppolo that you constantly look through a lens of when you're thinking about guys like Brock Purdy. Dave's coming in. He's saying if Lyle's offense was a spice, it would be flour. He's also saying if ChatGPT made an offense, Lyle should adapt it. I will say, Andy Reid, didn't he get one of the Super Bowl plays from one of the janitors at Arrowhead? So it might not be the worst idea in the world to check out ChatGPT, see what the robots are drawing.
Oh, hold on real quick, because I've been seeing this guy in here a lot, and I gotta say something. Everyone's worst nightmare. He's come in for a few weeks and tried to like dance on my somehow dance on this take, and I would love to ask how he feels now. How funny do you think it is that I thought Herbert was clearly better than Purdy last year, this year, and forever? What is your take now after watching Herbert play this last week and watching Brock? Let me know. Just curious. Go ahead.
That doesn't even sound like a hot take.
It's not a hot take at all to anybody with half a fucking brain. I know. I get it.
What? You think Justin Herbert's in the top 5 MVP race right now, in my opinion.
No, Jesse's right. Jesse's right. There are people. It's out there.
No, it's out there.
Yeah, it's out there as a general take out there.
Is it really?
Especially go back a couple weeks. Go back a couple weeks ago.
I'm assuming they're 49er fans. I mean, it makes sense. It's not.
Well, I know Miami fans do it, but that's just because Tua, when they didn't get Herbert in the same draft. So I understand that, but I never heard it compared to.
Well,
Purdy. That
was Acho though, because Acho came out and was like, he's a social media quarterback. I was like, get out of here. That was so stupid.
Because QB wins, right? QB wins. That's how everybody looks at it. QB wins, and it's like, oh, is Justin Herbert all of a sudden different now that the Chargers have wins? No, he's been the same guy the whole time. And anybody who with a straight face can watch that game on Sunday night and be like, man, you know, I'm watching a 6'6" quarterback with a rocket arm mobility and accuracy, but nothing says greatness like 6 foot weak arm and anticipation, right? Come on, man.
It's all about that acceleration.
That's what they wanted Trey Lance to be, right? That's what they wanted him to be, Herbert. I feel like if they had the opportunity to have Herbert, they would take it in a millisecond.
But Kyle didn't even want Trey Lance. It was John
He
Lynch.
didn't have a plan for him, that's for sure. He had no plan for him if he did want him.
Neither does Dallas. Clearly, you can't even get him in the game when
that's not the first time they've argued about a player, though.
That's true. But I'm just kind of shocked that was a debate, but I would agree with you guys there. I don't see it. John Naylor. Jesse looks like he's making hostage videos this week. Much respect for his 49er honesty, which he just gave us a dose of right there. Fire Poet. The Rams and 49ers have been at the top of the division for a bit. To what extent, if any, have the Cards and Hawks learned from them after seeing how things look. So they're saying, I think Fire Poet's saying that Hawks fans and Cardinals fans, they need to bide their time a little bit because we've seen the Rams and the Niners find their way to the top of this division eventually. But hey, the cream is going to rise to the top. These schedules are all difficult. Plenty of interdivisional games coming up down the pipeline here soon. The real cheese. How are our former Seahawks doing with y'all? LJ Collier, DJ Dallas, Colby Parkinson. Thoughts there?
LJ Collier is a depth piece for the Arizona Cardinals defensive line, and then DJ Dallas got himself a kick returner versus the Bill
That's right.
touchdown return in the Bills game. He's solid. I mean, it's nothing to scream home about, but I mean, it is what it is.
And Parkinson caught a touch. Well, he caught the go-ahead touchdown, kind of the game-winning touchdown, I guess, against the Patriots. I really like him. I interviewed him coming out of Stanford. He was really excited to come back to LA, but
We're getting him at the end of the year.
I just don't feel like they didn't really use him how I think they wanted to, because it's easy to do it this way, and then all of a sudden Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua come back, and it's the Cooper Kupp Puka Nacua show. Look at the box score, and you see it. It's just 19 targets for them, Tutu Atwell's below them, 1 catch. Like that's, I mean, that's just the way it's kind of been. So yeah, I like Parkinson. They love his blocking, but yeah, he hasn't necessarily been a world beater or anything like that.
PB&J's wondering how the Hawks O matches up with the Cards D. We will talk about that in our Week 12 preview show. So PB&J, make sure to tune in to that episode later in the week, and we'll have that answer for you. Nitsu is saying Hawks are bigger than the Cardinals, as we were talking about earlier. Everyone was saying to Mike that it's, I think I got a feeling, at least. I got a pretty good feeling about where all you guys are going towards on our upcoming Week 12 preview episode. We got a lot of Hawks love going into that Cardinals matchup this weekend. Eric saying Arizona is going to be the real test for the Hawks run defense. Arizona is quietly like the 2013 Hawks. Run first, run hard, wear teams down, QB solid. I mean, that's the difference I feel like right now with Arizona. They're doing a little bit of everything well, as opposed to relying on just one thing. And that defense has stepped up more than I think people thought.
Yep.
I don't know. A lot of sleeping on the Cardinals I've been seeing today, Mike. I'm interested to get into that preview episode later in the week. Roger is saying Mike got his panties in a bunch. First in the division. Can you please act like you've been there?
Ooh,
I know we have, not recently.
Starting to see your villain arc. Your villain arc is starting right now. It's started. I can see
when they get wins and they seem to be a little relevant, they like to pop out of the woodworks.
You guys keep getting sharper and sharper.
Yeah, Mike's getting Alexander the Graded when we record the next episode.
That next episode's looking at him like the Green Goblin mask in Norman.
Yeah.
Right now, he can't wait.
Light coming from below.
He's saying it's still early, but I can't wait to see Z-Bot put on the cape Josh Allen pulled out and jump through a flaming table to signify the end of the Niners season. The question is, Jesse, will we have the chance to do that, or will the Packers take another fork to you this week? Maybe it'll be a bigger game, the game we hoped it would be on Sunday Night Football. If the Niners beat the Packers, it certainly will be, in my opinion. And I know nobody in Buffalo land is sleeping on your Niners, by the way.
We should beat Buffalo. We have the better quarterback. Everyone's worst nightmare thinks it, so we should all believe it. I mean,
There's nobody.
You got the magical quarterback, really. I mean, that's really what wins out.
You got the $60 million man, as we like to call him. John's coming in. I follow Jesse. He has been clearly pointing out the Niners' issues, even when not popular amongst the 49er faithful. And that's never easy to do, believe me, especially when you have a good team, because nobody wants to hear it. Dave is saying Lyle is like the NFL's crackhead. Just give me a 5-star running back, man. Now I need $100 million for bonuses. Oh, I need more defensive guys. Need this, need that. Lyle, put the pipe down, play the game, says Dave. Who also says, I want a super chat. I already read that one. Feed me more Seahawks. Jake, your new favorite Jesse. You're my new favorite Jesse. Get back the list.
Oh, he's a Seahawks guy. I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know the list, but apparently, Jake, you stole it, and you need to give it back.
Oh, boy.
Roger
I don't know
saying,
where it is though. This is the problem.
I know. It's just like a fool's errand at this
I
point.
know.
Roger
I hope it's not
saying,
like Uncut Gems where it's like you got to give back the ring and everyone's looking for it. And it's like
Such a
I've
good
already
movie.
pawned it off.
Such a good movie.
I love that movie too.
I know.
Roger's saying, Mike, I don't know wherever this is coming from. Everybody's saying you're salty right now. I don't know. They're
I'm
saying,
telling you. I mean, you know, they get a little life in their back. I don't remember them 2 weeks ago when they were in the stream. I don't remember any of these guys. So keep it up.
I don't know where the saltiness is coming from. Like I said, I've been watching you closely, listening to the takes, and I think the saltiness, people are thinking they're seeing it in your eyes, but I don't think it's saltiness.
No.
I think it's motivation. I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it in those
Fire in
eyes.
the gut.
That's what I'm saying. P. Jeezy. He's saying, B-Dog, I'm in the building. I'm in
Let's
the
go,
house.
P.
He just wants to say what up.
Let's go, P.
He's also saying my guy Jesse clearly doesn't want to be here.
Listen, I almost called in sick. I did, but I gotta come face the music, man. I couldn't do that. No way.
And we round out with four, with a couple from Dave and one from Daza. Like I said, these purple D's are really really getting me confused here.
Boss.
Brock says Jimmy, then throws the ball.
Dude, this was Grant said this on Sunday, and I almost fell out of my chair laughing. You know, like when people shoot a basketball, they say Kobe. He's like every once in a while, Brock yells Jimmy, and then he throws a pick.
That's
good.
That's good.
Daza is saying Niners fans have compared Purdy to Mahomes, Young, Montana. Some Niners fans think he's second best in the league. He's borderline top 10. I've seen it too. And I'm not interested in the Niners stuff. So
Purdyphilia is a sickness, man.
That's better than 2-9. I like that.
I thought it was like Purdy sexual because they always do like LeBron sexuals and all that. So
I love it. Dave's coming in. How many winners has Lyle drafted? I don't know. It's an open-ended question, I suppose. And Dave's also saying Solomon Thomas, Javon Kinlaw, Reuben Foster, Trey. So I think he had the answer to his own.
Not a great track record in the first round for sure.
Dave serves himself up a question just to answer his own question, which I absolutely love.
And donates.
I love it. It's the best. Speaking of the best, you guys are the best. We appreciate all of the super chats tonight, and that's all of them. And that's all we have for you here on the NFC West Roundtable. Before we close up shop, one last time, want to direct you over to BetUS to show you what the current odds are within the division, because, man, there's betting opportunities all over this board here. You got the Cardinals at -120, but it's anybody's division to take, and you can get some real juicy odds right now on all of these teams. +300 for the Niners in second place currently. Rams at +500. Seattle at +600. Man, those lines super, super close. They're up right now on BetUS. If you want to get in on them before Week 12, do so with the promo code YouTube150 on BetUS. That'll get you 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next two after that. Also on your way out the door. Oh, this is kind of throwing me off a little bit. On your way out the door, if you'd be so kind, like button and subscribe button. That way we can notify you of all upcoming episodes, including the Week 12 preview episode coming towards you later in the week. And you could already tell the animosity between the Seahawks and the Cardinals. That episode's going to be good. We're looking forward to having you in there. That's going to do it for us tonight on the NFC West Roundtable. For Jake, Brandon, Mike, and Jesse, I'm your host, Z-Bot. Thanks so much for tuning into the NFC West Roundtable, and we'll see you on the next one.
Go Cards.
Go Hawks.